boy, the user experience of this site's awful, and the photography is terrible. And he would say, and the graphic design is terrible. And I'm like, the photography sucks. And so we kept saying after we had our fight, like, boy, we could do better than that. Having said that, YouTube didn't kill movies. But he can be a movie star on YouTube. Will there still be movies? Of course there will be, because that fills a different need. The high level idea is that we're a porn site, and we're not afraid to say that we're a porn site.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Hot Sandwich, the podcast about sex workers and sex industry. Today with us, I have a really special guest. I'm very happy for this. Dominic Ford. Hello, Dominic.
Hey, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I hope you're fine as well. But before, like everything, we're just breaking some ice. And please tell me everything about your social media, where we can find you, and website and whatever.
Sure. So I'm mainly on Twitter. My Twitter is at Dominic Ford, and then my company is at JustForFans site on Twitter.
Yeah, you can definitely see, and that's why I'm super excited about this, because for who doesn't know, Dominic Ford is like the creator of JustForFans, so that's why I'm super happy to having you here. When and how did you start in the porn industry?
Sure. So I started in 2008. Which is like, I think 13 years ago, if my math is right.
Yeah.
I had a production company called DominicFord.com, and it's a gay porn studio, and we were the first, and I think still only studio to produce content all in 3D. And then 10 years ago, I started a company called Porn Guardian, which is an anti-piracy company. And then 3.5 years ago, slightly over that, I launched JustForFans, which is now the #2 fan site platform.
That's good. But just like jumping back on this, you start, like you just mentioned, now you start like at DominicFord.com. It was your studio, and I can suppose you were also like an actor inside, right?
So I started behind the scenes. I was a producer and a director, and then I slowly, as I got my nerve up, I'd always wanted to be, and I had body issues, and then eventually, I don't know how many years into it, probably 6 or 7 years into it, I was finally ready to start introducing myself on screen. So yeah, now I'm fully on screen and full hardcore stuff. But it took a while to like decide I could do it, and I got enough positive reactions to feel not awful about myself.
That's interesting, at least for me, because I mean, I think a little bit like your story is a little bit different compared to most of the people right now on the screen. Because I mean, if you say that you started like a producer, I mean, that's very different compared to most of the people up there. Out of curiosity, how did it start? I mean,
so my boyfriend at the time, and we didn't have a good sex life, and so the fact that he was in the office watching porn upset me. But so I would go and I'd yell at him, and then I would look at what he was watching. And now I'm a computer scientist, and an expert in user experience and customer loyalty. My father's a photographer. He is a graphic designer. So we'd have an argument, and then I would look at what he was watching, and I'd be like, boy, the user experience of this site's awful, and the photography is terrible. And he would say, and the graphic design is terrible. And I'm like, the photography sucks. And so we kept saying after we had our fight, like, boy, we could do better than that. So finally, we're like, we actually do have the skills between the two of us to give it a shot. We created DominicFord.com, and I grew up with my dad. My dad is a photographer, and 3D photography is his passion. And so I had that knowledge already. So I'm like, this is what we're going to do to be different. And a year later, it was still a secret, but it was then paying all of our bills. And I quit my day job, and we started coming out to all of our friends.
But yeah, since like you mentioned this, I'm super curious, because definitely, do you think that porn gives some bad side on society? Because I mean, from what, especially you just mentioned right now, you were like upset with your boyfriend watching porn. And I think somehow also there are like some backfire on porn exactly because this. I think some relationships are affected, and also there are like some body issues around there as well, because you see like, oh wow, this like extremely gorgeous man on the screen, and it's like, oh wow. Do you think porn have this kind of bad effect on society, or is just like something that's, yeah, it's there and we have to live with it and just like.
I mean, I was upset with him because we did not have a sex life. And so if watching porn was something that we did together, or our sex life was amazing, and this was an added element to it, to individually or together, it would have been fine. Do I think that porn can raise expectations of what sex is? Yeah, probably, especially studio porn that's not real. Things that are highly edited, where you're like, wow, this top stayed hard for an hour and a half and never stopped. I hope people realize that, but I also think that's part of what is interesting about amateur porn or user-generated porn, because there's more realistic expectations when you're watching a non-edited cut of real people having sex.
Back to our main jump, JustForFans. Being the creator of JustForFans, again, why? What was the motivation behind like build up something like that?
This goes back to my ex-boyfriend also. We broke up and he started an OnlyFans page and I got jealous. Then he was on OnlyFans and he was getting however many followers and making however much money. And I was like, I'm gonna try this and see if I can do better than him. Now, spoiler alert, I did not do better than him. But anyway, so I tried and I used OnlyFans. And for the minute I used the platform, I thought a few things. One, it's a good idea, but very poorly executed. And then also, it didn't understand the ecosystem of the porn industry. We have models for sure, but we also have studios and we have affiliates and we have blogs and we have a whole world around, and the site didn't really have a place for them to fit in. And I just felt like I could make a better version of this that was better for the user, better for the model, better for the consumer, but then also included these other types of people who are in the industry, so they could also find ways to make money and not be afraid of the platform.
OnlyFans tried a few months ago to just like ban completely the porn from the website. How this, if it did, affected JustForFans?
Well, that was a crazy week, I'll tell you that much. I finally decided I was going to take a vacation. And then all of a sudden my phone started going off like nonstop. Our website traffic increased 5-fold. And we had a small competitor of ours who actually hired hackers to try to blow our server up. It was awful. Cut the vacation short, went back to my house. Yeah, that was a hellish week. And then of course, at the end of that week, OnlyFans said, oh, just kidding.
Yeah, you know what? You try to ban us. Well, fuck off, OnlyFans. We just moved to something that actually knows us better, because definitely feels like you are treating like us like the last wheel of the society. There was at least some good flow of content creators on JustForFans that will stay there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, our traffic and sales and models, everything was up. It is up. I don't know what the actual number is, but it's something like 30%. And some people inexplicably crawl back to OnlyFans.
Mentioned, because I know that like if like a content creator is like only on JustForFans, they have like an extra 50% revenue, something like that, right?
We used to pay out 70% and then exclusives would get 85%. And now we pay out 80%. And so exclusives we still get 85. So it's a 5-cent difference now instead of a 15-cent.
I saw today there was a tweet about new feature on JustForFans. Do you want to talk about like some like nice feature of there that actually you're happy about, or something new?
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. So we just had a weekend where I took my entire customer service team out to Disney World. So I just kind of felt like they need a break and they need to know that I appreciate them. And so we all went to Disney World, and we had one day that was a work day where they all brought ideas. And one of the ideas that's a few of them mentioned was the idea of playlists. So playlists are a feature where models and fans, or models or fans, can collect videos that they want to put in a playlist and then users can see their playlist. I'm the only technical person on the staff, so everything that is on JustForFans, I built by hand.
Most of the people working for JustForFans are like customer service at this point, probably, right?
Yeah, so we have 4 customer service people and then 2 like part-time relief customer service people. And I have an event director. I have someone who does my Instagram. I think that's it. And again, just to reinforce the fact, like most, if not all of them, have their own pages on JustForFans. Like they're either all front of camera models, or they've worked in the porn industry for decades. All the customer service people are models, and so they use the site every day. So it's not like we build something and then they don't see the flaws in it. Like they use it every day. So you know, it's much easier. You
accept Bitcoins as payment?
Yeah, since we started. For at least the last 3 years.
That's crazy. So,
I mean, we use crypto in 2 ways. We accept cryptocurrency as payment, and we also can pay out our models in cryptocurrency if they're in countries where it's a challenge to do a bank transfer, for example.
Okay. There are people using this.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
There are. Oh wow. I'm very surprised. I mean, but that's great. I mean, it's definitely...
Well, no, there's countries where it's very difficult. China and the Philippines and Colombia, just places where a lot of banks don't touch those regions because of all the fraud and whatnot, or whatever the issues are. And so for them, Bitcoin is one of the only ways that they can get paid. Building
up the full website, what is the best memories and the worst memories you have about this journey?
The worst memory, for sure, was the week that OnlyFans made their announcement and our servers were crashing. So, and then the OnlyFans thing happened and our servers, again, between the traffic and between the denial of service attacks, couldn't handle it. And so when I flew home that day, speeding up the migration, because even with normal traffic, our site was dying. And so what should have taken a month or a month and a half took me 5 days. But it was 5 days of, it was a nightmare. The best experience, but when I started, I remember doing a conference and someone said, like, what is your best day of the week, for example? And I said Wednesdays, and they're like, why? And I said, and again, it's going to sound stupid, but it's true. Wednesdays is payday for us. We pay our models on Wednesday, and I know how important it is in our industry for models to figure out ways to make money. And so Wednesdays have always been a day where I can smile because I know how much money so many people are making from the site, and it just makes me feel like we're helping people survive and thrive. There's a model who tweeted out in the last week or two a picture of a house that he's building for his parents that he bought based on money from JustForFans. And so that's when you're like, this is not just money for somebody to buy new sneakers. This money is altering his family's quality of life.
Before you mentioned that you also had built up this website called pornguardian.com. They're still active. And this was to try to prevent piracy. Is such a bad thing for porn industry, such a thing? And how do you try to prevent?
When I started DominicFord.com, my production studio, there was a guy, he was a user of the site. He emailed me one day, I think, and he's like, I found some of your content on a torrent site. Do you want me to help you get it removed? And I'm like, how do you do that? And so he said, there's a certain form called the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and that's how you communicate this order to the websites, etc. I assumed he was a lawyer because he knew fancy acronyms I didn't know. And so I'm like, yeah, sure, thank you. So then a month later, he messaged me again, like, oh, Dominic, I found more of your stuff. And then it was every 2 weeks, then it was every week, and then it was twice a week. And so being a software engineer, I said to him, let me build you a little dashboard where you just enter in the URLs and the system can then figure out who to message. And there's a form letter that's easy to fill out so that you don't have to do all this work, because I didn't want to pay him. And eventually he was like, Dominic, this is now bigger than DominicFord.com. Like other sites could use this. And so we partnered together and built pornguardian.com. Piracy was crushing studios, certainly back in 2008 to present day. And a lot of studios started to die because of free versions of their content up there. And so now, in addition to representing studios, we represent a ton of individual models. And models are feeling the same thing, where if somebody can find all your stuff on a file sharing site or a torrent site or a tube site, then why would they subscribe to your fan platform? I think there's a difference between stealing from a studio in the mind of a pirate. I think that they think less that way about models because when they're pirating from models, they're really taking money directly out of their hands.
Do content creator on your website can use this forumguardian.com?
Oh yeah, so because I own both companies, there's a very strong integration between the two. So you can report these illegal URLs right from the JustForFans platform. It goes directly into the Porn Guardian system. And we also have a digital fingerprinting subsystem that no other fan platform has. And so if you're an exclusive model, when somebody streams it or downloads it, we digitally imprint, not visually, but digitally, so that if you find your content somewhere, we can run it through a decoder and figure out what user on our platform was the user who did it.
Do you think that studios are still a thing in the industry, are still like getting like good revenues? Or
I can speak from a few perspectives on this because I was a studio owner. I think that there's an interest in authenticity, and authenticity comes from amateur porn, user-generated porn, because it's not produced, right? It's two models who want to work together, who are filming it themselves. There's often not many edits to it. It's not overly produced, and I think that's more interesting to people than to a lot of people than a studio work that is very highly produced and maybe a little void of emotion. Having said that, YouTube didn't kill movies. But it can be a movie star on YouTube. Will there still be movies? Of course there will be, because that fills a different need. So does a fan site remove the need for a studio? No, I don't think so. Is there more of an interest maybe in it right now? Sure, of course there is. But people who want glossy productions and storylines and things that are more than just I have a couch and really shitty lighting, but watch what I do. Yeah, they will always be interested in studios. So it just seemed like the heyday of DominicFord.com was kind of over. Finally took the website down and moved all the content over to its own JustForFans page. So now if you go to DominicFord.com, it redirects you to JustForFans/Dominic Ford Productions, which is slowly automatically releasing all of our content, our 11 years of content, like every 3 days, just because there's traffic there. And so why not try to make some money on that? For
JustForFans, being a content creator, the content upload is going to be still 100% mine, or?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So JustForFans does not own content. I mean, you're giving us the right to distribute it for you, but we have no ownership in it at all. I think a lot of times you find in like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, they have these clauses because they're free, right? And so you're using their services for free, and in exchange for free, they get to have rights to your content. You're not using JustForFans for free. We're taking 20%. Like you're paying us for the platform.
I have my own Twitter account and I get followers just staying on Twitter. There is some way inside JustForFans itself to try to grow your own viewers.
So this is one of our big differentiators between us and say OnlyFans. The high level idea is that we're a porn site, and we're not afraid to say that we're a porn site. It means that we can have all of the features that I used to build on our porn sites, like listings of models and categories of models. So if you want to look at twinks or bears or MILFs or what have you, we can do that because we are not ashamed of our content. There are so many ways that JustForFans cross-sells models and introduces users to models that they don't know. We have an artificial intelligence engine that has it's a recommendation page. So if you've bought subscriptions to 3 or more models, it starts to think about what other models are similar to those models that you might like. We have spotlights on the site where users on the pages that list models, every day there's one block at the top that features one model per gender. We have ways to do shout outs. Any model can look at any other model's posts and click shout out, and it puts that post on their page. About 30% of our average model sales comes from internal traffic.
Let's say that 2 porn actors on your website do a shot together. How the revenue is like split, if it's split it at all, or it's just like up to the content creator of the site. I just share by myself and you share by yourself, or there is like some kind of feature like, oh, we just put it together and we split the revenue.
So it's up to them.
Okay, it's up to them.
So there's different ways that you can make money off of a scene. One is you post it on your page and people subscribe to you. However, if you put that scene as an individual scene for sale in the store, you can elect to split the revenue of that scene between various people. But the other thing, which I'm incredibly proud of, and we actually launched first, models splitting their subscriptions with nonprofit charities. We work with 7 or 8 nonprofit charities that represent our community. And we have a lot of models who donate a percentage of their income to these charities. We're not an e-commerce engine just trying to make money off of the porn industry, right?
Yeah.
Like we see ourselves as a vital service within the industry, and part of being part of our community is being a good neighbor.
Before closing, can you share with us any like insights or future that will build up in the future, that you know, something like some anticipation or something you want to share in general?
I don't want to give specifics because we have lots of competitors. But for example, we just had this customer service retreat at Disney World that I told you about. And playlists, which we launched today, was one of a very long list of features that we all brainstormed during that meeting. So I have an incredibly large list ahead of me. Some are very small tweaks. Some are things like the playlist functionality, which is huge. And yeah, I'll be plugging through all of them, in the next few months.
Great. Thank you a lot, Dominic. I really appreciate having you here. You were like a really great guest, and I was super excited about this talk, definitely. Thank you again.
Great to meet you, and thanks for having me on.